Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Leading the Way in Education. I'm your host, Andrea De La Cerda, and each week I'm bringing you insightful discussions and news about changes in the landscape of education and entrepreneurship. Today's episode is the first in a two-part series. We're talking about an extremely important topic, trust. I wanted to discuss a trend that came to my attention recently and was described in a recent article by Korn Ferry, a management consulting company. The article is titled The Trust Recession, and it's really about the lack of trust between companies and their customers post-COVID-19. But the phenomenon isn't isolated to companies and their customers today. It's much more widespread. Our general trust of others is at an all-time low. Politicians, public servants, law enforcement, teachers, and even doctors are seeing a drop in trust among the public in recent years. So today, let's discuss this trust recession and the implications of the lack of trust and how that might affect entrepreneurs. Each year, Edelman, a global communications firm, puts out a trust barometer to measure the state of trust in the United States. In their words, they say trust is the foundation that allows an organization to take responsible risk and, if it makes mistakes, to rebound from them. For a business, especially lasting trust is the strongest insurance against competitive disruption, the antidote to consumer indifference, and the best path to continued growth. Without trust, credibility is lost and reputation can be threatened. So clearly an important topic for us to discuss today. Each year's report offers new insights into the current state of trust, with this year's theme revolving around innovation. As the 2024 Edelman Trust Barometer report summarizes, rapid innovation offers the promise of a new era of prosperity, but instead risks exacerbating trust issues, leading to further societal instability and political polarization. The innovation they're talking about is mostly AI technology, which has seen a recent spur of developments and uses in just about every area of life today, from Google search and Amazon review summaries to news about the next developments in healthcare and robotics. The Edelman report also found that consumers trust businesses more than the government, viewing them as even more competent and more ethical. But despite this, businesses must tread carefully in order to maintain any trust that they do have in an age where rapid innovation can just as quickly lead to mistrust. For example, 61% of people worry that business leaders are purposely trying to mislead people by saying things they know are false or gross exaggerations. This is an increase from the study in 2023. Additionally, while people trust businesses as a whole more than government institutions, not that that says very much, this does not mean that they trust every business equally. To survive and thrive in 2024, businesses must establish trust with their audiences and continue to prove themselves worthy of that trust. I want to quickly discuss some of the potential causes of this current trust recession. While there are many factors at play here, including increased and widespread political polarization, an increase in the use and misuse of social media, a lack of face-to-face communication among employees, their managers, and just people in general, I'm focusing on some of the causes of lower trust, specifically when it comes to the relationship between businesses and their customers. Some of these causes include a rise in online scams, deceptive marketing, filtered news reporting, and fraud. Scammers are getting really creative today with methods like QR code scams, phishing scams, tech support scams, lottery scams, investment scams, and retail scams, all being used to access people's sensitive information online. In 2023, consumers reported losing over $10 billion to fraud. This is a 14% increase from just the year before in 2022, and that's just the losses that people actually reported. Imagine that. So not only do people have to keep their eyes peeled for a myriad of online scams, many companies do use deceptive marketing to convince customers to buy their products. One such tactic includes a term that's been quite popular lately called greenwashing. Greenwashing is really a misleading or incorrect language to convince customers that they're actually doing something good or doing more than they're actually doing to help the environment. Judges have also seen a rise in lawsuits involving the use of the word, quote, natural, or businesses calling products 100% or all natural, when in fact the products contain synthetic or artificial ingredients. So, all of this considered, who can blame our society for a lack of trust in today's digital world? So, what's the problem with the trust recession? Why does it matter? And why should we care? It's been a long known now that, of course, humans are social creatures. We need a sense of community. For the sake of our own mental health and well being, community is a vital part of who we are, reducing stress and isolation, providing that sense of belonging and identity. But in the age of declining trust in institutions, banks, public schools, the medical system, you name it, our sense of community is faltering and our mental health with it. According to a recent Swedish study about the relationship between youth, mental health, and trust, a lack of generalized trust, or trust in just fellow members of society, in people aged 15 to 18 was associated with depression and anxiety symptoms at ages 20 to 21. Another research article suggests that higher levels of interpersonal trust increases and sustains well-being across a person's lifespan. So in short, trust is a fundamental ingredient in a well-functioning and healthy society. And entrepreneurs need to take note because doing all they can do to help aid in the bandaging of society's damaged trust by using ethical and transparent business practices. To reiterate my point from earlier, just because businesses are more well trusted than the media or the government, which again doesn't say much, doesn't mean that all businesses are given that same level of trust. I'm going to get into some examples of ways that businesses can wind up on society's untrustworthy list, as well as some examples of companies that have done just that. So first, consumer trust can be eroded when businesses use deceptive advertising like misleading claims or exaggerations about products or services. So for example, a recent example, in March of 2024, the Federal Trade Commission brought an enforcement action against two entities selling virus protection software to consumers by online and telemarketing sales. The companies Restoro Cyprus Limited and Reimage Cyprus Limited used deceptive marketing over the internet to sell fake antivirus and anti-hacking services, Restoro and Reimage. The companies used deceptive pop-ups and other internet marketing strategies, which include system warnings and threats, to scare consumers into believing that their computers had performance or security issues requiring immediate attention, when in fact they did not. Not only did these companies completely break the trust of those who used their services, they also probably made it more difficult for legitimate cybersecurity companies to find customers willing to trust them. They also were fined $26 million. Even more, customers have to be suspicious of opaque business practices and hidden agendas. Businesses really need to be transparent, and this is a lesson for all entrepreneurs out there. If you're looking to build your business, start your business, being transparent about your business practices and your goals is really key in order to establish trust. For example, in 2015, the Environmental Protection Agency discovered that the Volkswagen car production company had designed and installed a device that could detect when one of its cars was being tested for emissions levels and modify its performance levels to meet emissions requirements. During testing, the device made the car release fewer emissions to meet requirements. Regularly, the cars gave off up to 40 times the allowable limit for emissions in the United States. Volkswagen admitted to 11 million cars containing these devices being sold in the US and Europe. The cars had been marketed as better for the environment and had even won 2 Green Car of the Year awards, so many customers felt betrayed by the company. Consumer rights were violated as they did not have accurate information and were therefore unable to make informed purchasing decisions. This had huge repercussions for Volkswagen. CEO Martin Winterkorn resigned, and Volkswagen reached a lawsuit settlement in 2020, agreeing to pay out 620 million euros, roughly 664 billion US dollars. Volkswagen profit dropped 20% in the first 3 months of 2016 as they continued to deal with the repercussions and the aftermath. Brands really need to communicate honestly with their audience and customers, especially when it comes to information that's relevant to consumers' purchasing decisions. So things like services, pricing, products, and policies. As demonstrated by Volkswagen, honesty right off the bat about their high carbon emissions even if it put them in a negative light, would have been better than trying to apologize after the fact. Volkswagen could also have put the same time and energy that they did in cheating the system to actually design the car they claimed they did. Then they wouldn't have gotten into legal trouble and would have made billions of dollars instead of losing it. This is definitely a dramatic example of how a company losing trust with their customers. But consumers have and will continue to lose trust for smaller reasons than this, especially today, given our trust recession. In your business, if a mistake is made, just apologize immediately in appropriate channels and fairly rectify the situation. I know this is easy to say, but as a communications strategist and expert, we believe it is our ethical responsibility to communicate honestly. If this is something that you need support with in your organization, you can always reach out. In today's society, a company's lack of social responsibility is another way that consumer trust can be deterred. Failure to contribute positively to society or address those social issues can repel consumers to other companies that are taking action on causes that they really care about. As I mentioned in last week's podcast about crafting an impactful brand mission statement, consumers care heavily about purpose-driven brands. A study by Forbes Advisor found that 82% of Gen Z consumers and 72% of millennials say that advocating for social equality is the most important brand factor that positively influences them to make a purchase decision. New brands that commit to being purpose-driven and achieving goals that matter to their target audience that they are passionate also about, they will do much better than brands just trying to sell a product or service. Another way for brands to break trust is through poor handling of a crisis. Ineffective or sincere crisis management can erode trust during critical times. The example here that I have for you is the United Airlines passenger removal incident of 2017, in which a flight was overbooked and Dr. David Dow was forcibly removed by security. United Airlines employees randomly selected Dow to give up his seat, at which time he said he couldn't miss the flight because he was seeing patients the next morning. Video footage was shared online of security guards aggressively dragging him out of the plane, injuring him to the point of hospitalization. Not only was the situation itself eye-opening to many customers, as a video of the incident went viral, CEO Oscar Munoz added fuel to the fire with his ineffective handling of the situation. He sent out a series of statements, one such saying that, quote, "This customer defied Chicago aviation security officers and that, quote, our employees followed established procedures for dealing with situations like this," unquote. Customers were upset by what they felt was an insincere response, and at one point, almost $1 billion was wiped off the company's value. Clearly, trust is a critical component of society. It's literally what allows us all to function every day in community with one another. And as entrepreneurs, we have a responsibility. It's our job to contribute by making it our mission to practice trustworthiness in all that we do. And that's all I have for you in today's episode, but please don't miss the second episode in this two-part series next week. We're going to dive into the implications of technology and specifically the role that AI plays in either building or breaking trust over the long term. I hope you found some value in today's episode, and if so, please give us a review, like, and subscribe, and tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you, and take care.